What up, Internet? This is Eugene from Workabee Supply, and we're back with another freelance tip for you this week. Today, we're covering the topic of what to do when your client hasn't paid your invoice yet. How do you follow up in a way that's tactful, but also gets you hired again? Let's get right to it. Before we talk about the steps that we take to follow up on unpaid invoices, there's some precautionary measures you can take to expedite the invoice payment process as a whole. My first rule is invoice often and invoice early. As you'll see, it can take some time for your invoice to work your way through your client's financial system. So invoice as soon as you possibly can. It's easy to put these things off, but you gotta do it right away. We like to bundle our invoices with the final deliverable assets. So when we hand over the files to a client, they're watching their inbox, they're waiting for those to come in. So that's a great moment to slip in that invoice to ensure that they get it. If you send it a few weeks later, they might have already moved on to another project and miss it when that email comes in. On that note, we use an email service called Newton, which allows us to see when a client has opened one of our emails. This gives us some added context for narrowing in on why an invoice hasn't been paid. It is a subscription-based service, so it's not free, but for us it's totally worth it. I'll link it down in the description below. One more important thing to be aware of is the payment terms of your client before you start following up on unpaid invoices. So 30 days is pretty standard, which means it'll take a client 30 days from receiving your invoice to paying that invoice. But 60 days is common as well, and it can change from company to company, so it's a good idea to make sure what those terms are before you start bothering your client asking for your money when it shouldn't have arrived already in the first place. Okay, now that that's all out of the way, what do you do when that payment term has come and gone and you still haven't received a check? First of all, make sure you give your client the benefit of the doubt. Most of the reason invoices aren't paid is for technical or human error. It's not because of some malicious reason that the person's trying to screw you over. We wait for the initial payment term to pass and then follow up with a polite email saying, "Hi, I'm just checking in on invoice number 123. Could you let me know its status and when I can expect payment?" It's really as simple as that. You don't have to apologize for following up, and you don't have to make it this long drawn out thing. Just make sure you mention your invoice number. That's how the accountant tracks your invoice in their system, and also included as an attachment. This client might be getting a lot of invoices, so that makes it easy for them to follow up with their team so they don't have to dig through their email and find out exactly which one you're talking about. And again, remember, in many companies, the person you're dealing with has nothing to do with the payment of actual invoices, so don't take it out on them. They want you to get paid just as fast as you do, but there's certain logistical reasons why a payment might get delayed. So your goal is to be really polite, but also make it easy for your client to follow up with their financial team. Hopefully at this stage in the process, you've had some contact with your client, you know the reason why the invoice hasn't been paid yet, and you're well on your way to receiving your check. If we receive no response from that initial follow-up, we usually wait about 1 to 2 weeks and then follow up once more by email. After that, if you still haven't received a response, I would assume that your client just isn't getting your emails. So from that point, try to get in touch with them by phone, but again, be polite and give them the benefit of the doubt. We recently had a client that hadn't paid their invoice, and when we finally got to talking to them, we realized our emails had been going in their spam folder, and we got paid within a day of having a one-to-one conversation with them. So it happens often, it's nobody's fault really, it's just 2018. So this approach will get you paid about 99% of the time. But what do you do with that other 1%? Many freelancers react to clients that don't pay by wanting to lawyer up or make a really complicated contract for their future clients because they're scared it'll happen again. Unless this is like a really big project, tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's usually not worth it going through the whole process. Taking people to court is very expensive and time-consuming, and generally a pretty miserable way to spend one's life. If you have a client that has completely not paid and totally stonewalled you, the reaction isn't to make your future clients pay for that person's mistakes. It's to get rid of that client. As a freelancer, it's very important to be able to differentiate between good and bad clients and to continually filter out bad clients from your network. If it's a fairly normal-sized job, then just let it pass. Consider it a low-cost way of learning a good lesson to never work with that person again. Over time, you'll find you build a network of clients that trust you and are respectful of you and your time and pay you right away. I hope this gives you a good framework for dealing with unpaid invoices in a tactful way. If you have any specific situations you're dealing with, please leave them in the comments below and we'll do our best to answer them there. If you found this video useful, please give it a like, and it would be a huge help if you subscribe. We're releasing these videos every single Monday morning, so you start your week off on the right foot, and you can always connect with us every single day over on Instagram at WorkerBeeSupply. Thanks a lot for watching. Really appreciate your time. Have a fantastic week. Peace.